Americans want to join our uniform class. Last year was a record of multiple decades. This year, we're already ahead of last year. Americans are fired up to serve. I also had a chance to go to our next aircraft carrier, the JFK. I don't know if you heard, but our aircraft carriers have been busy recently. That one will be busy for decades to come, ensuring America is free and safe and powerful. And now here we are at Newport News Shipyard at the USS Oklahoma. And I'm here on behalf of the President, who has, from his first day in office, operated on a few core principles at the baseline: pure, unadulterated common sense. First, that a leader's primary duty is to put America and Americans first. Second, that the surest and only real path to peace is through strength. We're in the strength business. You are in the strength business. And third, that a nation that cannot build things, a nation that can't create its own tools or its own defenses or its own future, is a nation that is in managed decline. President Donald J. Trump looked at that managed decline, a decline that had been accepted by elites in both parties, and he rejected it. And we fundamentally reject it. And in doing so, he has unleashed a great American revival, a reawakening of our industrial spirit and our national confidence, a new golden age for America that you are all a part of building. As his Secretary of War, my mission is to execute President Trump's vision within our armed forces and ignite that revival. The mission has three core components, three pillars upon which we are building our national security. It's actually quite simple. First, we're reviving the warrior ethos inside our fighting force, reminding our warriors and our uniformed military that their sole purpose is to be the most lethal fighting force on the planet. So no more DEI, no more dudes in dresses, no more distractions. We're done with that shit. It's just standards, accountability, readiness, training, discipline, and lethality. Back to basics across the department, which is what our warriors really want. Second, we must and we are rebuilding our military with the best equipment, training, and leadership to ensure our warfighters are never in a fair fight. And you've seen historic investments, over $1 trillion in the last budget. You'll see even more, and it isn't just in platforms, it is in people. And third, we're reestablishing deterrence. That's so absolute and so unquestioned that our enemies will not dare to test us. You see, under the previous administration, whether it was the debacle of the withdrawal in Afghanistan that cost American lives and smeared our reputation, whether it was the war unleashed in Israel after October 7th by Hamas, or the war in Ukraine that never would have started under President Trump, the world started wondering whether America really was strong and whether America really could lead. Well, that's over now. Just ask the Houthis and our ship that now sail freely. Imagine that. Under the previous administration, when our ships got shot at, we just said, I guess we have to deal with it. All the way back to Thomas Jefferson, we said, you're not shooting at our ships, and if you do, you may not see tomorrow. Well, we did that with the Houthis, and our ships now sail freely all around the world without being attacked, without being shot at. That's peace and strength. Same with Midnight Hammer, where our B-2s flew 37 hours down and back, and were never seen by the Iranians, and dropped 14 precision munitions exactly where they were supposed to drop, obliterating Iran's nuclear capabilities, not to mention the Tomahawks that came off of a beautiful submarine and delivered that decisive blow as well on one of their nuclear facilities. Deterrence is back. Not to mention drug boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific carrying drugs headed to the United States to poison the American people. We're not playing the whole catch and release game anymore. These are foreign terrorist organizations, the Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, and we will sink every drug boat headed in our direction. Reestablishing deterrence. Our southern border, which allowed an invasion of people we didn't know who they were under the previous administration. 7 months of zero crossings at our border. A country that isn't sovereign is not a country. Reestablishing deterrence. And then we saw 3 nights ago in downtown Caracas in Venezuela, as nearly 200 of our greatest Americans went downtown in Caracas Seems those Russian air defenses didn't quite work so well, did they? Downtown Caracas grabbed an indicted individual wanted by American justice in support of law enforcement without a single American killed. Re-establishing deterrence. Because of President Trump's leadership, the world is taking notice. They're noticing American power, they're noticing American strength, they're noticing American clarity and leadership, and you are at the core of ensuring that happens. Everything we're doing is aimed at those goals. And that's why just before Christmas at Mar-a-Lago, I had the privilege of joining President Trump and the Secretary of the Navy for a historic announcement, the creation of the Golden Fleet. The Golden Fleet is the Navy's investment to revitalize America's maritime industrial base and rapidly build and sustain the fleet and fundamentally change how we do business and maintain military supremacy. This new battle fleet, anchored by a new generation of Trump-class battleships, is a declaration to the world that our command of the seas is and will remain non-negotiable. That announcement, along with the incredible, vital work being done right here, is a generational commitment to American sea power. This investment in both the visible might of battleships and the stealthy lethality of the submarines built in this very yard is a direct investment in peace and strength. It's an investment in the future fight, ensuring that America has the tools to win any conflict, anywhere, any time. And as was mentioned, today marks the first stop on a month-long Arsenal of Freedom tour from the War Department. And on this tour, we'll be traveling from the shipyards of the coast to the factories of the heartland, to see the work being done by the military and our partners in American manufacturing, to usher in a new golden age of peace and strength, a revival of our industrial base, all American-made by the best Americans. We know that our treasured freedoms are only as secure as our arsenal is strong, and nothing is more important than securing that freedom. So I'm here to thank you, the men and women assembled here today, and those you represent, who are designing and constructing our weapons of war that my children and yours, my grandchildren and yours, will rely on to ensure the peace, stability, and security of the United States. You are standing shoulder to shoulder with the warfighters of the War Department. Allow me for a moment to speak plainly about the threats to that freedom. We find ourselves in a world of growing threats, a world the comfortable elites in Washington refuse to acknowledge for far too long. For decades, a bipartisan consensus sold this country a dangerous fantasy. They told us that history was over, that the rise of peer competitors was a relic of the past, and that we could afford to trade out our industrial might, our factories, our jobs. Outsourcing our manufacturing is just the way it is in a global economy. Foolishness, recklessness, not anymore, not under President Trump. While we were policing the world, nation building in deserts, and debating pronouns at the Pentagon, our primary competitors, like the Chinese Communist Party, did something very different. They studied us, they learned from our triumphs and our mistakes, and then they started to build as well. And they've undertaken some of the most rapid, ambitious, and breathtaking naval buildups since World War II. While we decommissioned ships, they launched many of them. While some of our shipyards did not meet the demands of our country, they expanded at a rapid pace, but not anymore. While we seek good relations with China and the rest of the world, we are also ready. President Donald Trump understands that the American people are ready and they deserve a new golden age. We recognize that we are in a new era of great power competition, a generational struggle to maintain peace through strength, and we will rise to meet that challenge. That is why we proudly call ourselves the Department of War, not the Department of Defense, not because we seek war, but because we truly understand that in order to ensure peace, you need to be prepared to deter war and, if necessary, decisively win it. Our purpose is not to be reactive, but to be dominant, so that no enemy, any enemy, will ever attempt to challenge the United States of America. Now, this revival is not a matter of speeches or policy papers or think tanks and white papers in Washington, D.C. This is a matter of action. Across the entire War Department, we are developing new operational concepts. We're deploying cutting-edge technologies at a speed that's not been seen in generations. And we're making historic, multi-generational investments in the capabilities that we will need to dominate the future fight at a level of urgency that must match the urgency of the moment. Most importantly, we're getting these capabilities in the hands of our warfighters faster than we ever have since World War II. Under President Trump, we are systemically dismantling the bloated, risk-averse, and self-serving bureaucracy that has stifled innovation for decades. We're streamlining our requirements and acquisition process, cutting through red tape. This is not the same old reform